My name is Kelly and I'm 27 years old. I've always been the middle child, the quiet one who tries to keep the peace in our family. When my stepmother Amanda announced that our annual family vacation flights would cost $1,000 each, adding coldly, "If you can't afford it, stay behind," my heart sank. I had just lost my job and could barely make rent. I nodded quietly that evening, swallowing my hurt. But what happened next would shock not just her, but our entire family. Before I continue with my story, let me know where you're watching from in the comments below, and don't forget to hit like and subscribe to hear more stories that might resonate with your own experiences. I was 12 years old when my world shattered. My mother, the center of our family universe, lost her battle with cancer. The following years were a blur of grief and adjustment, as my father, a successful business executive, threw himself into his work to cope with the loss. By the time I turned 14, he had remarried a woman named Amanda, who brought her two children, Taylor and Jackson, into our family. My older sister, Sophia, who's now 29, handled the new family dynamics by physically removing herself from the situation. After college, she moved across the country to Seattle, only returning for major holidays and our annual family vacation. I didn't have that luxury. Still being in school, I had to stay and navigate the increasingly uncomfortable home environment. From the beginning, Amanda made it clear that her children came first. It wasn't anything obvious that my father would notice. He was rarely home anyway, often working late hours or traveling for business. The preferential treatment came in subtle forms. Taylor and Jackson always received new clothes while I got hand-me-downs. They were enrolled in expensive extracurricular activities, while my requests for art classes were deemed unnecessary expenses. When it came to attention and affection, they received abundant praise for average achievements, while my accomplishments were acknowledged with a passing nod. Despite all this, my father insisted on maintaining one tradition from our life before Amanda. The annual family vacation had been my mother's favorite thing. She believed that families needed dedicated time away from daily stresses to reconnect and create lasting memories. After her death, my father vowed to continue this tradition in her honor. Over the years, it became the one time I felt connected to both my mother's memory and my increasingly distant father. This year's vacation planning started like any other, except I was in a significantly worse financial position. 6 months ago, the marketing firm where I worked as a graphic designer announced massive layoffs due to losing their biggest client. Despite my portfolio and positive performance reviews, I was among those let go. The job market for designers had become fiercely competitive, and despite sending out countless applications, I hadn't secured a new position. My savings were rapidly depleting. Each month, I scraped together enough for my apartment rent and minimum payments on my student loans. I had been looking forward to the family vacation as a brief respite from the stress of job hunting and financial worries. Little did I know that Amanda had other plans that would only add to my burden. The one blessing in all this was my relationship with my father. Though emotionally distant since Mom's death, he still made efforts to connect with me. Sometimes he'd stop by my apartment with takeout from my favorite restaurant or send me texts checking in. He wasn't great with emotions, but these small gestures told me he cared. I held on to that knowledge like a lifeline during the tense family gatherings that Amanda orchestrated. Last week, Amanda announced a family dinner at their house to discuss vacation details. Her text specified formal attire, which immediately put me on edge. Amanda only insisted on formal dinners when she wanted to create an atmosphere where she could exercise control. I spent an hour trying to make my one decent outfit look presentable, wondering what surprises awaited at this dinner. The dining room in my father and Amanda's house always intimidated me. Crystal chandelier mahogany table that could seat 12, and china that cost more than my monthly rent. As we gathered that evening, I noticed the table was set with the expensive plates, another sign that Amanda had an announcement she considered significant. My father sat at the head of the table, distracted as usual, scrolling through emails on his phone. Taylor and Jackson, now 24 and 22 respectively, were busy taking selfies for their social media. I slipped into my seat quietly, wishing Sophia was there to provide some buffer against whatever was coming. Amanda swept into the room carrying a folder with travel brochures. "I've finalized our vacation plans," she announced without preamble. "We're going to Hawaii this year. The Kona resort I've selected has everything we could want." I nearly choked on my water. Hawaii was significantly more expensive than our usual vacation spots. We typically went to beaches in Florida or sometimes the Carolinas. This was a major departure from tradition. "Hawaii sounds amazing," Taylor gushed already, tapping on her phone to look up the resort. My father finally looked up from his phone. "Hawaii. That's quite a change. Your mother always preferred East Coast beaches," he said, glancing my way. We both knew he meant my real mother, not Amanda. Amanda's smile tightened. "It's time for new traditions, don't you think? Besides, I found a wonderful package deal." "What's the cost breakdown?" I asked tentatively. This question was reasonable given my financial situation, but Amanda's eyes narrowed as if I'd said something offensive. "The flights are $1,000 each," she stated flatly. "If you can't afford it, stay behind. We can't always accommodate everyone's budget constraints." The room went silent. My father frowned slightly but didn't contradict her. Taylor and Jackson exchanged glances but quickly returned to their phones, deliberately avoiding the tension. "I'll need to check my finances." I managed to say, my voice smaller than I intended. "Well, don't wait too long. I need to confirm numbers by next week," Amanda replied with a dismissive wave. She quickly changed the subject to restaurant reservations and excursions, effectively ending any discussion about costs. Throughout dinner, I tried to catch my father alone to discuss the situation privately, but Amanda seemed to anticipate this. She kept him engaged in conversation about work connections in Hawaii, and whenever he stepped away, she found reasons to follow. By the time dessert was served, I had a knot in my stomach that had nothing to do with the rich chocolate cake on my plate. "We could go snorkeling with dolphins," Jackson was saying excitedly. "And there's a famous luau at the resort," Taylor added. Neither of them acknowledged my silence or discomfort. I excused myself as soon as politeness allowed, citing an early morning job interview. This was a lie, but I couldn't bear to sit there any longer while vacation plans that excluded me were enthusiastically discussed. In my car parked a block away from their house, I finally let the tears come. The $1,000 figure echoed in my head. There was no way I could afford that on top of my mounting bills. Last year's vacation to Myrtle Beach had cost less than half that amount for flights. I remembered how during that trip Amanda had booked activities for Taylor and Jackson that I accidentally wasn't included in. Now I wondered if this price hike wasn't an accident at all, but a calculated move to exclude me from the family tradition that connected me to my mother. Wiping away tears, I started my car. I wasn't going to give Amanda the satisfaction of seeing me broken. Somehow I would find a way to go on this vacation. It wasn't just about a week in Hawaii, it was about holding on to the last thread connecting me to my family. Back in my small apartment that night, I spread my financial information across my kitchen table. Bank statements, credit card bills, and a spreadsheet tracking my job applications stared back at me like accusatory witnesses to my precarious situation. After 2 hours of moving numbers around, the conclusion was inescapable. Even if I skipped some meals and delayed my phone bill payment, I would still be several $100s short of the $1,000 flight cost, not to mention additional expenses for meals and activities once in Hawaii. I called Sophia, desperately hoping my sister might have some solution. When she answered, the background noise told me she was at a restaurant or bar. "Kelly, everything okay?" Her voice carried the slight guilt of someone who had escaped the family drama. "Not really. Amanda's planned a Hawaii vacation and says flights are $1,000 each. I don't have that kind of money right now." Sophia sighed. "That sounds like Amanda. Listen, I can help with some of it. Maybe $300. That's all I can spare right now with my apartment renovation." I thanked her, grateful but still far short of what I needed. After hanging up, I turned to my laptop and opened freelance job boards. Perhaps I could pick up some quick design projects to earn the remaining amount. I stayed up until 2 in the morning submitting proposals for logos, business cards, anything that might pay quickly. The next day I contacted former colleagues to ask about job leads or temporary work. Most were sympathetic, but had nothing concrete to offer. One suggested I apply for a credit card with an introductory 0% interest rate, but my application was rejected due to my current unemployment status. Growing desperate, I gathered items around my apartment that I could sell online. My collection of art books, a tablet I rarely used, even the necklace my father had given me for college graduation. By the end of the week, I had sold several items, but the combined funds still left me short. With each passing day, my resentment toward Amanda grew. This wasn't the first time she had created situations designed to separate me from my father and family traditions. There was the misplaced invitation to my father's surprise birthday party 2 years ago. The family photo session scheduled when I was out of town for a work conference. The holiday dinner where my dietary preferences were the only ones forgotten. One evening, while searching through my closet for more items to sell, I found a box of old family photos. There we were on a beach in North Carolina, my mother's smile radiant despite her recent first round of chemotherapy. My father with his arm around her, Sophia and I building a sandcastle nearby. The image brought both comfort and renewed determination. This vacation tradition was my connection to her memory, and I wouldn't let Amanda sever it. The next morning, I decided to speak with my father directly at his office, bypassing Amanda's interference. I waited in the lobby of his corporate building for nearly an hour before he emerged from an elevator looking harried. "Kelly, what are you doing here?" His surprise gave way to concern. "I needed to talk to you about the vacation," I began, but was interrupted by his assistant rushing toward us. "Mr. Thompson, the Tokyo investors are on the line. They say it's urgent." My father looked torn. "I'm sorry, sweetie. Can we discuss this tonight? I'll call you as soon as this crisis is handled." He hurried back to the elevator without waiting for my response. That night, no call came. I sent a text that received a brief reply about the call running late and promising to connect tomorrow. But tomorrow would bring its own emergencies and distractions, as it always did. Lying in bed that night, I realized I needed to stand up for myself. Amanda had manipulated the situation as she always did, but this time I wouldn't quietly accept it. I just needed to figure out how to address the issue without creating a family rift that would hurt my father. The following afternoon, my phone rang with an unexpected name on the caller ID. My grandmother, Margaret. My father's mother rarely called out of the blue. "Kelly, darling, how are you?" Her warm voice immediately eased some of my tension. "I'm hanging in there, Grandma. Looking for work, trying to stay positive." "And how are the family vacation plans coming along? Amanda sent me an invitation yesterday." I paused, surprised. "Amanda invited you directly?" "Yes, quite unusual, isn't it? She normally communicates through your father. But she sent a lovely email about Hawaii and asked if I'd like to join you all." This was indeed unusual. Amanda typically tried to minimize contact between my father and his side of the family. Including my grandmother in vacation plans was completely out of character. "Did she mention the costs to you?" I asked carefully. "Yes, she said they'd found a wonderful senior rate for me. $600 for the flight. Quite reasonable for Hawaii, I thought." I nearly dropped my phone. 600, she told me flights were $1,000 each. There was a pause on the line. "That doesn't sound right, dear. Let me forward you the email she sent me." Within minutes, my grandmother's email arrived clearly showing the senior rate of $600. Something wasn't adding up. "Kelly, is everything all right? You've gone quiet?" I confided in my grandmother about my financial situation and Amanda's ultimatum. Margaret had never been fond of Amanda, sensing her manipulative nature from the beginning, but had kept her opinions mostly to herself for my father's sake. "This sounds like Amanda is up to something," she said finally. "Have you checked the actual flight costs yourself?" I hadn't, assuming Amanda was telling the truth about the expenses. While still on the phone with my grandmother, I opened my laptop and searched for flights to Kona during the planned vacation dates. "Grandma, the standard economy flights are showing as $450, not $1,000. "I suspected as much," she replied. Amanda has always been creative with numbers when it serves her purpose. A terrible realization dawned on me. Do you think she's been doing this for years? Telling different family members different prices and pocketing the difference? It wouldn't surprise me, dear. Your father trusts her completely with family finances and never checks the details. My grandmother suggested I confront Amanda and my father with this information, but I hesitated. Direct confrontation would likely lead to Amanda playing the victim and my father being caught in the middle again. I have a different idea, I told my grandmother. I'm going to book my own flight directly and gather evidence of what she's been doing. Be careful, Kelly, but know that I support you standing up for yourself. It's long overdue. After hanging up, I sat at my kitchen table, mind racing with the implications of what I discovered. This wasn't just about this year's vacation. If Amanda had been inflating prices and pocketing the difference for years, she had essentially been stealing from our family. The thought made my blood boil, but it also gave me a sense of clarity. For once, I had caught Amanda in a scheme that couldn't be explained away with excuses. The next morning, I called the travel agency listed in the email Amanda had sent my grandmother. Pretending to be confirming details for the Thompson family booking, I asked for an itemized breakdown of costs. The economy flights to Kona are $445 per person, the agent confirmed. There's a senior discount rate of $395 for travelers over 65. I thanked the agent and hung up my hands, shaking with a mixture of anger and vindication. I took screenshots of current flight prices from multiple airlines to document the actual costs, saving everything to a folder on my computer. With my grandmother's help, I began discreetly contacting other family members who had joined past vacations. My cousin David revealed he'd been told flights to Florida last year were $700 when they had actually cost around $300. An aunt had paid her share of a beach house rental at nearly double the actual nightly rate. I wondered where all this extra money had gone. On a hunch, I checked my father's desk during a quick visit to drop off some mail. In his disorganized filing system, I found bank statements showing regular transfers from their joint account to a separate account in Amanda's name only. The transfers often coincided with family vacation payments. The evidence was mounting, but I needed to be strategic about how to use it. I didn't want to hurt my father or create a permanent family rift. My goal wasn't vengeance, but to stop Amanda's manipulation and reclaim my place in our family traditions. I used my limited funds to book a direct flight to Hawaii at the actual price of $450. I forwarded the confirmation to Amanda with a brief note saying I had found a sale and would be joining the family vacation after all. Her reply was terse, asking if I had booked through her travel agent. I didn't respond. Over the next week, I organized all my documentation into a folder including screenshots, email forwards, and notes from conversations with family members. The anxiety of confrontation built as the pre-vacation family dinner approached. This traditional meal, held a week before departure to finalize details, would be my opportunity to address the situation. The evening before the dinner, I received an unexpected email. A design firm I had interviewed with weeks ago was offering me a second interview for my dream position. The timing couldn't have been better scheduled for the day after we would return from Hawaii. This potential fresh start gave me the additional confidence I needed to face Amanda. That night I practiced what I would say, balancing between necessary confrontation and maintaining my dignity. I wasn't just standing up for myself financially, but reclaiming my right to be part of the family tradition that connected me to my mother's memory. The pre-vacation dinner had the same formal setting as the previous one, but this time I arrived with a quiet confidence that caught Amanda off guard. She had expected me to back out of the vacation, not find a solution. "Kelly, you're looking well," she said with a tight smile. "I was surprised to see you'd booked your own flight. We usually coordinate as a family." "I found a great deal I couldn't pass up," I replied pleasantly, noticing how her eyes narrowed. My father seemed genuinely happy I would be joining them, oblivious to the tension between his wife and daughter. Taylor and Jackson were too absorbed in vacation planning to pay much attention to the undercurrents. As the main course was served, Amanda cleared her throat. "Now, for those who haven't yet submitted their contribution for flights, I'll need the payment tonight. $1,000 each as discussed." My father immediately pulled out his checkbook to cover his amount. Taylor and Jackson were apparently exempt, as they didn't react to the request. "Actually, I said, keeping my voice steady. I've already paid for my flight directly. It only cost $450. The table went silent. Amanda's fork paused midway to her mouth. That's impossible, she said. The flights are $1,000. You must have booked a different date or airport. No same dates, same flights as everyone else. I pulled out my booking confirmation. Standard economy to Kona, just like you arranged. Amanda's face flushed. Well, you must have found some special promotion. It's the standard rate, actually. I double-checked with several airlines and your travel agent. My father looked confused. Amanda, is there some confusion with the bookings? Amanda forced a laugh. Kelly must have misunderstood something. The total package costs include various fees and taxes that she's not seeing. I placed my evidence folder on the table but didn't open it yet. I have the itemized breakdown here if anyone would like to see it. Amanda's eyes locked onto the folder. Kelly, if you're trying to cause drama before our vacation, this isn't the time or place. I'm not trying to cause drama. I'm just confused about the price discrepancies. For instance, why Grandma Margaret was quoted $600 for the same flight. Taylor and Jackson exchanged glances, suddenly paying attention. My father's brow furrowed. Different rates for seniors, Amanda said quickly. That's standard practice. The senior rate is actually $395, I countered. I confirmed with the travel agency. Amanda's composure slipped. This is ridiculous. You're trying to embarrass me in front of the family. My father finally seemed to grasp that something was wrong. Amanda, what's going on? Have we been overpaying for flights? I slid the folder toward my father. It's all documented here. But maybe Amanda would prefer to explain the situation privately first. Amanda stood abruptly. I need to speak with Kelly alone. Now. We moved to the study where Amanda closed the door and turned on me with fury in her eyes. How dare you question me in front of everyone, after all I've done for this family? All you've done, like overcharging everyone and pocketing the difference. You can't prove anything, she hissed. And even if you could, who do you think your father will believe, his devoted wife or his unemployed daughter who's jealous of his new family? For a moment her words stung. She had always been skilled at finding my insecurities and exploiting them. But this time I had concrete evidence, not just feelings that could be dismissed. I don't want to hurt my father, I said calmly. But I won't let you exclude me from family traditions or take advantage of everyone anymore. You have a choice. We can discuss this reasonably, or I can share everything I found with the entire family. Amanda's eyes narrowed. Your father will never forgive you for trying to come between us. That's a risk I'll have to take, but I think he deserves to know the truth about where his money has been going. In that moment I realized I was no longer afraid of Amanda or her threats. Whatever happened next, I had found my voice and my strength. When we returned to the dining room, Amanda had composed herself, but her eyes held a cold fury I had never seen before. My father looked up expectantly. Is everything okay? He asked. Actually, Dad, there's something important I need to share with everyone. I opened my folder and laid out the evidence methodically. For years, it seems we've all been paying different amounts for family vacations, all well above the actual costs. I showed him the flight confirmations, the email from the travel agency, and statements from other family members about what they'd been charged in previous years. The differences appear to have been deposited into a separate account. I concluded showing him the bank statement I had found. An account only in Amanda's name. My father's expression shifted from confusion to shock to a deep, quiet anger I had rarely seen. Taylor and Jackson looked stunned, whether at their mother's actions or my audacity to expose them, I couldn't tell. Amanda. My father's voice was deadly quiet. Is this true? Amanda attempted to laugh it off. David, you know how disorganized I am with numbers. If there were discrepancies, they were honest mistakes. Consistent mistakes that always benefited you financially, I asked, and always resulted in deposits to your private account. You went through my private financial information. She deflected, trying to make me the villain. My father wasn't deterred. Amanda answered the question. Have you been charging us more than the actual costs and keeping the difference? The silence that followed was answer enough. When Amanda realized she couldn't talk her way out of this, she switched tactics. Fine. Yes, I collected a small coordinator's fee for handling all the booking details. That's perfectly reasonable, considering the time I spend arranging everything. $500 per person is not a small fee, my father responded. And hiding it, rather than being transparent, is not reasonable. The vacation still happened, but with significant changes. My father insisted on rebooking everything himself directly through the airlines and hotels. Amanda was noticeably subdued during the trip. Her control over family activities diminished. In Hawaii, I experienced a family vacation free from Amanda's manipulations for the first time. My father and I had a private conversation during a walk on the beach at sunset. "I'm sorry, Kelly," he said, watching the waves. "I should have paid more attention to the vacation planning and to how Amanda treated you all these years." "You were grieving Mom," I said gently. "We all were in our own ways. That's no excuse for being blind to what was happening in my own family." He turned to me, his eyes sad but clear. "Your mother would be proud of how you stood up for yourself. I know I am." Those words meant everything to me. The wall that had grown between us since my mother's death began to crumble that day on the beach. Amanda made several attempts during the vacation to regain control and reestablish her authority, but the family dynamic had permanently shifted. Taylor and Jackson, seeing their mother exposed, began to question other aspects of her behavior. Family members who had previously kept their distance now engaged more directly with my father. On the third day of vacation, I received an email confirming my job interview upon return. When I shared the news, my father was the first to congratulate me with genuine pride in his eyes. The healing wasn't instant, and the family relationships remained complicated. But standing up for myself had broken a pattern of manipulation that had controlled our family for too long. When I returned home and started my new job the following week, I felt like a different person than the one who had quietly accepted Amanda's "flights are $1,000" ultimatum. I had found my voice, set boundaries, and reclaimed my place in the family. The most important lesson I learned was that allowing myself to be manipulated didn't protect family harmony as I had always believed. It only enabled toxic behavior to continue. Real relationships, the kind my mother had valued and tried to nurture through our family traditions, are built on honesty and mutual respect. Sometimes standing up for yourself means risking conflict, but the alternative, silently accepting mistreatment, slowly erodes your sense of self-worth. I still have challenging moments with Amanda, but she no longer has the power to make me question my value or my place in the family. Have you ever had to stand up to someone who was taking advantage of you or others? How did you find the courage to speak your truth? Share your experience in the comments below, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video if my story resonated with you. Thank you for listening, and remember that recognizing your worth is the first step toward creating healthier relationships in every area of your life.